First thing on the agenda, do we have any bill introductions? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and proceed. Hey, Doug, we usually try to leave those open just for airflow. For some reason, I have more concern about respiratory infections than I used to in my younger days. I don't know why. Okay. Representative Victors, are you online? Show her.
Yes, I am.
Hey, just for the record, are you in the building?
Yes,
we have
sir.
a close. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Representative Hauser's not online by chance, is he? I know there's some illness. Okay. Before we get into the presentations today, I want everybody to know that on your desk, we've got a workforce report for 2020. I think they're in the process of finalizing the one for 2021. You know, I just find this as a wealth of information. I know we've got a lot of pay issues across the state. I see more and more agencies, it seems like, finding ways around some of those. So we do need to kind of understand what's in this a little bit so we can take care of those that haven't been able to take care of their issues. But some of the things that you can see in there are the top 20 positions as far as turnover, the positions with the least turnover, the agencies with the most turnover, the agencies with the least turnover. A lot of good information about voluntary and involuntary terminations. And then employees by length of service. Anyway, I found it very interesting. Okay, so with that, we're going to start off with our staff and agency budget review for the State Fire Marshal budget. And we'll start out with Shirley Morrow on the State Fire Marshal budget. Welcome to the
Mr. Chair and committee. You should have in front of you the budget analysis for the State Fire Marshal. You'll notice on page 1 there's an explanation of the agency. On page 3 there's an expenditure and financing table that shows you the categories of expenditures for the budget for 22 and 23. And then at the bottom of the page, you'll see the Fire Marshal Fee Fund. And again, just for your information, there's a requirement for each fire insurance company doing business in Kansas to pay a levy to the Commissioner of Insurance, and the levy goes to support the State Fire Marshal, EMS, and the University of Kansas Fire and Rescue Training. I'm going to start the presentation for fiscal year 2022 on page 5. So the legislature approved a budget of $6.4 million last year. There were no adjustments made to that appropriated amount, and the agency estimate is the same, and there are no adjustments made by the agency, and the governor's recommendation concurs with the agency's revised estimate for 2022. However, the governor did announce an executive directive for a pay plan for 2022. The Fire Marshal agency is spending that money within existing resources, so there are no changes to their budget. It will affect about 12 pay periods and all but 3 employees within the agency. So they're using existing savings that they have within their budget, so there's no additional funds necessary. On the page 7, we have fiscal year 2023. Again, the agency's estimate for 22 was $6.4 million. In 23, they had some changes, they're asking for an enhancement for recruitment and retention of $410,000. They reduced the fire recruitment and safety grant of $100,000, and then there were some additional adjustments in capital outlay and some trucks of $127,000. And then there was also just an adjustment of an FTE. The governor's recommendation did not recommend the $410,000 enhancement recruitment, enhancement of recruitment and retention. However, the governor did put in a pay plan of $249,000 and added back in the Kansas Fire Recruitment and Safety Grant Program of $100,000 for a total of 6.8 or 6.9 million rounded up for 2023. There's some additional information on the next page, page 8 of the recruitment and retention plan. And again, the governor did not concur with the $410,000, but did provide about $250,000 for recruitment and retention. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
So can you walk me through the recruitment and retention plan again? I'm trying to, so we've got a total operating expenditures that were approved fiscal year 2022. And that is,
That was the 6.4 million for the 22 budget.
okay. And the governor approved. You know, I don't like the layout of these new ones like I did the old ones. They're just not near as much paper to shuffle through.
Well, and they're so colorful.
All right,
So it's a little confusing because to hopefully simplify, in essence, we're going to say the agency asked for $410,000 for recruitment and retention. The governor denied that, but she does add money for recruitment and retention of about $250,000. So in her budget, she technically rejected it, but yet in a pay plan that also included 22, she does give them some money. It's not as much as they'd asked for originally in their budget.
And then she also, without the legislature's approval, did an executive order that also allowed it to happen regardless of whatever action we choose to take other than to cut their salary and wage amount to below an amount to use it.
Yes, sir.
And so, okay, I see recruitment and retention of $249,730 in fiscal year 2023 on page 2. And then it's again on page 7. Is there an enhancement, recruitment and retention for 2022?
No.
That's not discussed.
No, the agency did not ask for that would be a supplemental request to their existing budget, but the governor did include about $112,000 in 22 as an executive directive for approximately 12 pay periods.
Okay. And then the only other major thing is they did not ask for the $100,000 for the firefighter recruitment and safety grant, and the governor added it to their budget. And then did they have, do you know if they had a recruitment and safety grant for 2022? I can ask.
The supplemental of recruitment and retention?
Yeah, they had $100,000 for 2022, didn't they?
Correct.
That was the agency's.
That was the firefighter recruitment safety grant in '22, but not in '23, but then the governor added it in.
Okay, gotcha. All right, I think I see clearly now. I misread that recruitment and retention. I thought it was, they were asking for it. The governor cut it back to a certain amount that was equivalent to her 5%. Do you know any of the details of that recruitment and retention plan as far as if it has future steps in place or what the percentage of increase? Yeah.
I do not.
Okay. Can you get that for the committee before we
Absolutely.
review this? Okay. Any other questions? All right. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Delperdang. Go ahead.
Thank you. I think I'm kind of keying up on the same thing you were talking about there, but in '23, you're showing the governor recommended $249,000 for recruitment and retention. Now in '22, we added 1.5 FTEs, but then in '23, we get that extra money for retention, but we're actually dropping. What's going on there?
I don't know the exact answer. I do know there's been a lot of cleanup and technical adjustments with FTE in all of my agencies that I have. I don't know if the agency has additional information on that or not, or if these are kind of technical cleanups.
Okay. And then the only other question I had was on you're trying to purchase 2 half-ton trucks with bed covers, et cetera. Are we even able to get them? In other words, I understand you're putting money in there, but can we physically get the vehicles at this point? Because I think we've talked to other agencies and are running vehicles longer because they just cannot get them.
I have heard with other agencies it takes a longer time to get them, yes, and I don't know if the agency will have additional information on that, if they've tried to get them yet or not.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have welcome to the committee, Dad.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. Thank you for allowing me to appear here today and give you an overview of our current budget and what our budget looks like for next fiscal year for FY23. I think you all should have this document, and it has a lot of information. I'm not going to go line for line for you, but I just wanted to give you the information so you have it. The first page has our current org chart, so you can actually see the positions we have and what division and what responsibility those positions have. Our agency is dedicated to protecting lives and property for the citizens of Kansas. We take that very seriously, and we do our best to fulfill that responsibility. We have approximately 70 FTE positions right now. We have approximately half of those, a little bit less than half in the Topeka office. We have about 30 positions in the Topeka office, and then we have about 40 investigator and inspector positions that are out across the state where they work out of their homes. We have a lot of missions that our agency performs and that we're required to perform either by statute or by the responsibilities that our office has. Since 2021, we've improved our zero-based budgeting. We continue to work on continuing the Kansas Firefighter and Recruitment Safety Grant. We think that's important. We've been working with our hazmat and our search and rescue task forces. We've been working with CMS on helping CMS facilities develop the plans that CMS was requiring last year. Their COOP operation plans that CMS required. And we've been involved with the industrial hemp program over the last year or so. We currently have about 8 licenses issued in the state. We have 3 pending right now for final review. We've completed 82 background checks for those 8 licenses. And we currently have chemical extractors that use ethanol. We have one cold press method, and then we have one CO2 extraction process that's going on in the state. The investigation division continues to train local law enforcement in the investigation of fires. We had our 80-hour fire investigator course that we presented, even with the COVID restrictions. We continue to assist the local agencies with their fire investigations when requested. Arsons is one of the hardest crimes to prove and convict on, and the national average is about 3%, and for the last few years and currently we're running about a 10 to 14% conviction rate on the cases that we investigate. Our prevention division, we continue to do as many inspections as we can. Of course, we had issues during COVID, especially with hospitals and adult care centers, assisted living centers. They were closed for a while, and we took those off our list, and we intentionally stayed out of those just to make the staff and the people there more comfortable. But we're back into inspecting those right now. We have a backlog of inspections, not only due to COVID, but also to vacant inspector positions that we currently have. We're struggling to get applicants and even then hire people from the applicants we do get for a lot of the open positions we have. We currently have or had about 10 open positions out of those 70. We recently just hired 2, one that started today, one that started last Monday, and we have 3 coming on board a week from this coming Monday. So we've filled about half of our open positions here within the last couple of weeks, and it's probably due to the salary increases we were able to get our people up to. It's been a big help in getting those positions filled. Our prevention division, on page 8, there's a graph, and it shows the number of inspections that local fire departments continue to get back to our agency. It shows in 2020 there were 580, 2021 223, and in 2022 so far we've gotten about 380 inspections back. The fire departments are slow on giving these back, and we didn't have the totals for 2022 yet, and they're still not finalized before we submitted our budget. But in past years, when we've gotten this many inspections back from locals, we've actually got approval from the legislature to hire some additional inspector positions. And during this hearing, I was going to just let the committee know that, or ask them to entertain adding a couple more inspector positions to our office, because back in 2019, when we had an uptick of about 1,100 inspections over 2 years, we were able to hire 4 new inspectors. And with the last 3 years, we've had that same uptick of about 1,100 inspections. And it's part of the reason we're behind. And I think with the committee, with my presentation, there's a colored map, and it shows the current areas or regions that our inspectors are assigned to. It shows that on the average, our inspectors are running 650 to about 700 inspections a year, which is pretty much maxed. And those numbers are only if we're able to fill 2 more positions. If we can't fill the 2 new positions for Territory 16 and 17, each inspector is going to gain about 90 to 100 inspections, and they can't complete those. Some because of the complexity of some, especially the CMS inspections for hospitals and care centers for the different facilities that receive the Medicare and Medicaid reimbursements. Emergency Response Division, we continue to train and equip the 9 state hazmat teams. A brief overview of some of the training that we completed this year. Emergency response, we have 7 state search and rescue task forces. Our training with them is down a little bit because the training with them is more hands-on, shoulder-to-shoulder type training. And so we had to set aside some of that training because of COVID, but we hope to get that back and going in the spring, depending on what happens going forward. Administration Division, again, fairly self-explanatory. The one thing that has been already discussed is the fire, and this is page 11, Firefighter Recruitment and Safety Grant. We've done that for a few years. We started at $200,000 a year. There were a couple of years where we moved it up to $400,000. Last fiscal year, we did not ask for any funds for it. This fiscal year, we requested $100,000, which the legislature approved. And then for FY23, the governor's recommending $100,000 for FY23. We continue to receive much more or higher requests for those grants. When we had the 2 years of $400,000, both years we received over $1 million in requests from the volunteer and part-time departments in the state for assistance. Excuse me. This year with the $100,000 that we have in the budget, we received over $650,000 in requests from those departments. What we're looking at doing and planning on doing, and I think the committee has a copy of it, is in conversation with some in the legislature and other people outside with the local fire departments and different things. Excuse me. We intend to apply for some of the ARPA funds, just for the recruitment and safety grant. Based on the $100,000 that the governor is recommending for next fiscal year, we were going to ask for $300,000 so we could bring that up to the $400,000 that we've offered before. And then we're asking for, excuse me, $400,000 for FY24 and FY25. So we're asking for $1.1 million of the ARPA money just to fund the firefighter safety and recruitment grant. Excuse me. The more I talk, the worse it gets. So I'll sort of finish up here. Page 12 gives you a list of everything that is available for those volunteer departments to purchase with the grant funds. And we continue to move forward with our smoke alarm program. Since we initiated the program, we've given over 8,000 smoke alarms away to the citizens of the state, and we just don't hand those out at fairs or things like that. We actually have agreements with local fire departments, and they actually go out and install those fire alarms and educate those residents on how they work and how to use them and things like that. And with that, I think our budget's already been covered, the increases. We continue to have a cash flow problem. Right now, our budget balance seems high, but from that balance, $3 million of that is actually set aside to pay our bills for the next 6 months of our operating. So even though it shows a balance in FY22 of 5.7 million, 5.8 million, 3 million of that basically is already spent. In past years, that balance has been quite a bit lower, but we've built that balance back up mostly because we didn't fund the recruitment grant last year of $400,000, and because of the ability not to deliver all of the search and rescue and hazmat team training that we usually do. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
Questions, committee? Representative Ellis?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How much would the 2 inspectors cost if we added those?
The cost for the first year, because it includes cars, cell phones, laptops, printers, clothing, things like that, would be about $95,000 each. And then in the second year, after the initial cost of the equipment and things, it would be approximately $66,000 or $67,000 a year for each position. And we could do that right now with existing dollars.
You can do it. All you need is permission.
Correct.
One more question, please. Can you raise your rates on your own, or do you have to have our permission?
I have to have legislative permission to raise the amount of money we receive from the insurance premium fund. It's set in statute.
He's currently a fee-funded agency through an insurance premium, so there's got to be a bill passed to increase the tax on insurance policies.
One more. Did you say we only have 8 licensed hemp growers?
Not growers. Department of
License.
Agriculture oversees the actual growers or producers that grow the plants. We were tasked by the legislature last year to oversee the processors. And those are the people that take the harvested marijuana and turn it into the CBD oil.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Weigel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to see you again.
Likewise.
Watch the questions there. I heard you guys have history.
We do. It's good. The 2 new inspectors positions, 16 and 17, those are still out there. They're not on the ground yet, correct?
No, and currently those areas are being covered by existing inspectors. This is a new map on what it would look like if we were able to hire those 2 positions.
So you're doing the work of the entire state, including the new 16 and 17, with the existing personnel that you have right now, correct?
Trying to, yes.
And so are the 2 new areas that you're looking at over almost 1,300 inspections in those 2 areas that are being covered by your existing personnel?
Yes, we're trying to, but again, we're behind, not only because of COVID, but because of vacant positions we've had. And with the amount of new inspections that the local fire departments continue to get back to us, even if we were full strength and we were doing the work that we have to do now, we're not going to be able to keep up because of those, over the last 2 years, about 1,100 inspections that the local fire departments gave back to us.
Do you know offhand how much time that, because I don't know how they do their inspections, but that the local fire departments are they doing this exact same work that your people would be doing as far as the inspections go, or are they, because they're local, that, they say, oh, well, I know this.
We'd have to check with them on that. I'm sure there's a difference in how they do their inspections compared to us, because like the local departments cannot do the CMS facility inspections. CMS only allows our inspector to do that because we have to go send them through extra training so that they can do the CMS inspections. And the CMS inspections are above our regular inspections that we would do, say, at a hospital that didn't receive CMS funding. So they're more involved, those CMS inspections. Our inspections range from our inspector pulling up at a quick shop to make sure that the exchange propane tank cabinet has one of our stickers on it so that it's licensed and been accounted for, to a 3 to 4 day inspection of a group, more of a team inspection, a 3 to 4 day team inspection of a major hospital in the state. So it runs the whole gamut on the inspections that we do and how extensive they are and how time consuming they are.
I have just one more question. And this goes a little bit more to the overall mission. I think it was just this past weekend that there was a major explosion somewhere back east. I think it was a railroad car with some kind of fertilizer.
Fertilizer plant.
Yeah, next to it. Do you, and I remember the large explosion that killed like close to 100 people down in Texas a number of years ago, I think about 4 or 5. I'm sure you're aware of that. Do you monitor those type of incidents across the state and then apply that to the agency to say, we need to look at this or we need to do things differently?
We do. When those situations come up, we're always reevaluating how we do things. And if we need to make changes, if we need to make those type of inspections a priority for a while, we'll do that. Like right now, we're behind on the school inspections and daycare inspections in the state. So we've sort of put our restaurants, some of those more lesser needed inspections on hold, and we're concentrating on the hospitals, the schools, and the daycares, because there's a real issue with lack of daycare in the state, and we have a lot of people trying to open new daycares. So we've pushed those sort of to the top of our list to try and help the ones that are in business continue to get their license from KDHE or KDADS, and then also to get the new daycares open and get those going so people in the community have use of those.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Resman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned that you're behind in some certain inspections right now. Is there something that allows for those, let's say it's due on February, you don't get there until April. Is there something in the law that allows you to go beyond that date of
Yes, there
inspection?
is, actually in statute and our rules and regulations. Some of that was accomplished through some of the COVID executive directives during the height of COVID, and we suspended those or were able to extend those times, and we're currently extending some of those times now, both based on, still with some COVID concerns in some of the facilities, but simply based on the amount of inspections the fire departments are giving us back, because the majority of those inspections that are coming back from the local fire departments are probably COVID related. They don't want to go into those facilities, and they don't want to have to interact with those facilities. And they are also having staffing issues too, just like us. So between the COVID and the staffing issues at the local level, they're giving those inspections back to us because they can't complete them. So that's adding to the list that we're behind on. But what we're doing is on some of the lesser ones, like I explained, the restaurants, the quick shops, some of those things like that, we're pushing those out into the future a little bit so we can concentrate on the majority of the ones that need to get done.
And elevator inspections, that bill just passed out of Fed and State this morning. Do you have any idea how it's going to impact your agency?
No, because quite honestly, short story is we worked with the industry on that bill when it was in the Senate last session, and we had agreed to the final version. And then at the last minute on floor debate, an amendment was added that excluded the cities and counties from the bill. And with that, that takes out the majority of the elevators and escalators in the state. And we basically have ended up with an unfunded mandate. And again, because we're completely fee funded, and the fees we're able to get back from the current version of the elevator bill will no way pay for the staff that I need to bring on to oversee it and administer it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? So these two positions that you want, will the additional inspections be able to fund those positions, or is it an additional burden on your budget?
It will be an additional burden on the budget because we don't charge for any of the inspections we do. Back when the office was created, it was the understanding that we would do all the or most of the inspections that we needed to do based on receiving the funds from the insurance premium sales. So everything up till now, except for boilers, we do charge for our boiler inspections and our boiler certificates, but everything else is we do and pay for out of the insurance premium fund.
Are there any statutory limitations to charging for any of these inspections, like Medicaid or Medicare laws?
No. not that I'm aware of.
I think that's something you ought to pursue. I really don't think state general funds or an increase in that insurance tax is going to happen very fast, but I think everybody could understand the fee for an inspection if you're having to provide it in lieu of something that the local city, isn't that the case? Most of these are things that local cities and counties used to actually do, and they're throwing them back on you for different reasons.
Some are, but the majority are ones that we're required to do by statute.
The daycares are required by statute?
Yes, because we're required, like in KDHE or KDAD statutes, when they license care facilities, daycares, hospitals, things like that, it's in their statutes that an inspection by our office is required before that facility can get their license approved. So it's a matter that we're bound to these inspections, not only by some of our own statutes, but also by statutes of other state agencies.
Okay. So when we talked originally about the Spark and the ARPA, I had thought that you were probably going to, or that we were going to request all of the amount for the grants through the ARPA and the Spark process. Was there a specific reason you decided to leave the $100,000 that the governor did as an enhancement and not ask for that?
No, it was there, and we felt we shouldn't ask for more money each year than what we've been able to provide in the past. So we
Right.
sort of set that for $400,000 as our mark. And with the $100,000 that the governor had asked for, we were just going to ask for the $300,000. But if,
Why don't we get that $100,000 from the ARPA and the Spark?
I'm sorry,
Why don't we get that $100,000 and then you have additional carryover to stretch these out?
and I'm fine with that. I was just going to leave it up to the committee and sort of see what direction they wanted us to take
I
on
think
it.
that's the direction I think we're going to want you to go, but obviously we'll have to take a vote on that. Okay. Any other questions? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So do I understand that there are daycare centers who are unable to operate? They're ready to go, but they're waiting to be inspected?
There are a couple on our waiting list, but they're not, right now, they're not having to wait for more than maybe a week or so to get that final inspection, because again, we've reshuffled everything and we moved them to the top of our list along with the schools.
All right. Thank you very much.
While we're at it, what's the mileage on the vehicles that we're replacing on Enhancement 3? Is it we're replacing 2 trucks and 4 cars?
Yes, we still use the old state guidelines. So on the
Which is?
cars, we don't replace until they hit 140,000 miles, and on the trucks, it's 160.
Okay. And what was the year that the grant for the firefighter recruitment and safety grant was started?
I think this is the 5th year.
This is the 5th year, so it was started in approximately 2016, roughly, 2017?
I think that's in the summary. I'm looking real quick. In the history, it looks like FY18 was the first year.
So we started in FY 2018, this grant program, which is being used with the insurance premium proceeds, and there's no statutory requirement for that program, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Committee, there is a copy of their request for Sparks funding for some of those, for that grant. Next thing on the agenda is, where's the actual agenda at? Is that written only? Is Kevin Flory written only? Okay. All right, committee, now we're going to move on to budget recommendations for the agencies we heard yesterday. So if everybody will pull up Abstractors Board of Examiners. The process that I'd like to follow is basically we'll open up the discussion on the Abstractors Board of Examiners for discussion. Does anybody have any discussion regarding the budget? I'll let everybody take some time to find it. I know I had a hard time finding the agenda, so I can relate to that, Representative. And Logan, can you please watch very closely to see if Representative Victors has any comments? And then we'll also need to record any votes if anybody wants their vote recorded. Okay. If there's not any discussion, has everybody found it? Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the 2022 budget for the Abstract Board of Examiners per the governor's recommendation. Okay, sure.
Thank you. And I know I don't think we're going to see any of this change, but I'm still just kind of hung up where we've got 20-some thousand for salaries and wages, but yet we're showing no people there. Where's the money going?
Shirley, you had a little bit more information on that, I think, when we heard some of the budgets. Do you have any idea why we have a half an employee on this, but we show an FTE of 0? Shirley, I know this isn't your budget, but I was thinking you discussed that a little bit with me when we did the fire marshal budget.
The definition of FTE has to be more than a 0.5. So this person works less than half-time. So it shows up as 0. I believe we have 2 agencies that have 0 FTE that have, since it's such a small budget or such a small agency, they're less than a half of a position.
Okay. We can change the definition. That's true. We could have a bill that way. Okay. Okay. With that, is there a motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 budget for the Abstract Board of Examiners following the governor's recommendations? We have a motion by Ranking Minority Member Poskin.
I so move.
Okay, is there a second? We have a second by Representative Ellis. All of those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to fiscal year 2023. Is there any discussion on the fiscal year 2023 budget? If not, is there a motion to approve the budget according to the governor's recommendation or in concurrence with the governor's recommendation? Motion by Representative Resman, is there a second? Second by Representative Poskin, is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries. All right. Next, we're going to move on to the Board of Technical Professions. Just point of information, we've started to get some of our budget summaries in. So if you guys want a hard copy to look at what's going on these budgets, feel free to take these back, but please bring them back to the meeting if you take them out of the room so that we don't have to struggle through that. All right, as far as the Board of Technical Professions, I believe Larry Kearns is here, and he's got some additional information regarding the salary enhancement that they received through the governor's office.
Good afternoon, Jen. The 2021 figure or the 2022 figure, which shows an increase of $43,292. I did some extensive looking. I think I've solved most of the mystery, maybe not all of it, but most of it. We had an employee in 2021 who was paid $35,360, and she had benefits of $15,666. So pretty close to $51,000 in expense. That position became vacant. We didn't refill it. We divided the duties between the remaining employees, and the increase in salaries and benefits was $27,000 and change. The difference between the $27,000 and the $43,000 is we continued that position in our next year's budget. We didn't eliminate that FTE, but we only funded it at $24,000 instead of $51,000. And that should show the differences in the salaries.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Larry? Okay. All right, so now let's start conversation. Oh, Mr. Carnes, I do have another question for you. One of the things that we're really looking forward to trying to find is ways that we can use Spark and ARPA money for things to encourage government efficiency. Do you have anything like that?
I'm not sure I know what those programs are.
Well, okay, so the Spark and the ARPA money, it's federal funds that have been made available as part of the coronavirus response. And it can be spent in certain areas. Some of those include health of Kansans, education. One of them is government efficiency. That's kind of the one I kind of try to focus on. So one of the things, do you have any near future technological improvements that you've been thinking about trying to do?
I'd like to say we do, but we don't. We've just, during the COVID process, we've gone to online filing of applications and licensing and renewals. We've really gotten into a lean and mean posture. That's why we were able to eliminate one position.
Okay.
Kind of been there and already done that.
Yep. Well, it's just an opportunity to take care of some of those things. You know, for instance, the prior conferee has wanted to increase the funding for certain grants for the health of rural Kansas and small volunteer fire departments. It's an opportunity to leverage.
I appreciate that. I'm sorry, I don't have any recommendations.
That's fine. I just didn't want to miss out on one. Okay. All right. Is there a motion to approve the governor's recommendation for the fiscal year 2022 Board of Technical Professions? Motion by Representative Resman. Is there a second? Second by Representative Poskin. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Move on to the fiscal year 2023 budget. Is there any discussion? Is there a motion? Motion by Representative Resman to approve the fiscal year 2023 budget for the Board of Technical Professions with the governor's recommendations. I need to ask for a second. Yeah, where's my second at? Virgil is the second. Okay. Representative Weigel, excuse me, is the second. All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries. All right. Next one on the agenda is going to be Emergency Medical Services Board. Merle, can you give me a little direction? This is the one that we had some items that we want the ARPA and the, what's the other terminology? What's the other acronym?
Yeah, the Spark. Yeah, I believe
that's right, Spark.
I believe the executive director did name a few items, and unfortunately, I don't have those with me. But
I've got those.
Name some items that he was considering applying to the Spark task.
We should do that in the 2022, shouldn't we? Since the application process is right now, wouldn't that be correct?
I think that's reasonable to make the recommendation for 22.
All right, so Emergency Medical Services Board for the fiscal year 2022 budget. Is there any discussion? I will mention right off the bat that I I'm very supportive of these requests on his part. I do have one question. It seemed like he thought there was a lot of, he had a lot of concern with the third item, the modernizing the exam process. He wasn't sure that it fit the scope. I don't know. What's the pleasure of the committee on that one? Should we leave it off or should we go ahead? What I'd like to do is, in our budget report out, what we basically say is we support the Emergency Medical Services Board's request for Spark funding, and then we'll break each one of these out individually with just enough detail to make sure they know what we're referring to. Hopefully it'll support their attempt to get this funding. None of these are items that I think we want to necessarily consider at omnibus. You know, there would be some, like for instance, if it was something like the 100,000 maybe of the fire marshal, we might want to put that stipulation in there, but I don't think that these are of that nature that we want them to be considered that way. So what do you guys think about the second one? Modernizing the exam process. It's a virtual reality $2 million deal. Or is it number? No, it was number 2. It was the virtual reality thing. The 3 is those trucks that have both a house for the EMT and then a mock-up emergency room, right? Oh, is that number 4? One. Okay, you're right. Okay, 3, right. Do we want to leave that out?
I would say since he wasn't sure, we probably should.
Okay. Is everybody good with us putting that language at the bottom as an amendment? Go ahead, Merle.
I just want to clarify that you're discussing essentially recommending that the agency pursue this funding. You're not necessarily saying add the funding or appropriate the funding, is to be clear. Okay.
We're trying to give a letter of support from this committee for their application for the funding through the Spark process. Yeah. And then we're going to use that to also try to get support from the Appropriations Committee for them through the Spark process. So, all right. With that, I think probably the proper format is I need a motion to approve the governor's recommendation for the Emergency Medical Services Board for fiscal year 2022 with the amendments that we support Spark funding for items 1, 2, and 4 on the back page. Is that clear enough for you, Merle? Okay. Is that your motion? Yes. Okay. Is there a second? Second by Representative Poskin. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All opposed, no. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to fiscal year 2023. Is there any discussion? Is there a motion to approve the governor's recommendation for fiscal year 2023? Is there a second? Motion was by Representative Poskin, second was by Representative Resman. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. All right. As far as tomorrow, I hear there's the opportunity for a lot of snow. You know, watch your phones and everything. What's on the agenda for tomorrow? Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I don't believe anything is on the committee. There is nothing on the agenda for this committee. I just wanted to remind the group, oh, I'm sorry, correction. There is a report out. There is recommendations for the State Fire Marshal. Sorry, State Fire Marshal. I just wanted to remind the committee that you will see committee reports from Harris and from Shirley documenting some of the results of today. You'll see those in your email boxes. Again, you do not need to respond. Really, you only need to respond if you disagree. And remember, we are just asking you to verify that the language is accurate. We're not asking if you disagree with the intent of the report, just asking that the language agree.
Excuse me, we just got notice that the House will be adjourned tomorrow due to the incoming inclement weather, and will reconvene on Thursday. So we're not going to meet tomorrow. On Thursday, we're supposed to have a presentation by Kansas Department of Transportation. Isn't that correct? And that the last change we made. So let's move the report out on the State Fire Marshal to Thursday also. And then I have to do the budget report out to Probes. Is it Monday or Tuesday? Monday? Right. And then we'll do these three. If you guys are bored, Thursday at 9 o'clock, we'll do these three report outs Thursday in Probes. So, all right, so no committee tomorrow. And we'll plan on being back here Thursday. Any other information? Anything else we need to pass on? Okay, all right. Thank you, everybody. We're adjourned.